Hi there guys, Shaun from 5-Star Marine here with Jay.
Hello, I'm Jay.
And it's one of those days where it looks like it's going to be sunny and rainy at the same time.
It's sunny and rainy at the same time here in Phuket.
Yes. Actually, this week we're going to give you an update on the 5-Star Marine charity, Living Waters Phuket.
Oh.
Now Jay, when I talk about Living Waters, quite often I forget to give the details about how it started and how it was founded. So I actually thought it would be a better idea you weren't with me when I started Living Waters. You come about halfway into it.
We weren't together, no.
No, I remember meeting you at the gym one day and asking you to get people to come help to pack.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah, that was down at the Satai gym.
Yes. So I thought maybe you could give an outsider's view of what Living Waters Phuket is from there until now, and then I'll tell you what it's been doing the last 12 months.
Is that how we're going to do this video?
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay, so Living Waters was, when I first heard about it, and I'll put from my opinion,
yes,
obviously from my viewpoint, was when COVID hit, there was no jobs in Phuket. And I'll just relate it to Phuket because obviously I was living here. So obviously Phuket being a tourism island, tourism stopped completely. So the whole of Phuket had nothing, no income, no money coming in. And a lot of the locals who were living in Phuket then had no jobs, no income, no money, meant no food.
So to get some stats behind that, 95% of people in Phuket are employed directly or indirectly in hospitality or tourism.
There you go.
The other 5% generally relate to government.
Okay.
We had about 600,000 residents on the island, of which about 50,000 left to go to their provinces because there was no work, and the rest were stuck here with nothing to earn.
That's right. So what I heard about this Living Waters thing was all about packing life bags. Life bags was the expression that I heard a lot. And there was messages going out across all the people that lived here, all us expats and locals as well, was, hey, life bags, it's really important we go and give life bags. And it was packing some rice, it was some oil, maybe a couple of tinned tuna or tinned fish or what's the sardines, isn't it?
Mackerels,
yeah,
sardines.
mackerels. I love mackerel.
Yeah.
But the idea was you pack these little life bags up, and then this group of people, and Shaun was one of those, would then head out and actually physically give an individual bag to people. And so that's what it was. And I was at the gym with my kids were doing jiu-jitsu at the time, and I was there at the gym and I was watching this, loads of people just packing bags, all sat around. And it was like almost like a factory setting, but a very bad factory, to be fair. I mean, the health and safety of the factory was dreadful, but we won't go into that.
We had health workers there doing COVID testing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everyone was a mask on, everyone was social distancing, we're doing it, but everyone was mucking in and filling these bags up with essential goods to help feed the people of Phuket. And that was the first time I heard of Living Waters. And then I got involved a little bit by promoting, and I went and delivered some bags as well. Not as much, obviously. Look, I didn't do hardly anything compared to Shaun and his team, but that's what Living Waters was to me. And then we also looked at how we could help, and that spread the love across Phuket. And then it started a lot of other people then getting involved and talking about sustainable farming and talking about how we can help people grow their own vegetables. And there was a farm committee was set up, and different committees were set up all around this one idea of giving bags of food to people that needed it.
So we were talking about this earlier, actually, during the pandemic as it started. Phuket kind of united as one.
Yes.
And what we did as a company and a foundation was we kind of led the food relief. We would get people together, we'd pack and we'd distribute. And during the 2 years of the pandemic, we distributed somewhere around 2 million and a bit life bags across the 2 years.
That's a lot of life bags.
Yes. So Living Waters Phuket was the foundation that basically was behind all of that. And it was a foundation that was founded only in COVID. Prior to COVID, 5-Star Marine gave to charities, but not in the same level that we gave during the pandemic. So when COVID ended and the tourism come back, Living Waters Phuket stepped back from kind of being a food relief foundation and started to look at other areas that we could help to support our community in areas that were at need. And we also went a little bit further than Phuket. So during the pandemic, we fed Phuket and its surrounding islands, meaning places like Phang Na, Krabi, Trang, Koh Lipe, Naka Island, Coconut Island, all these places we delivered to. But as the pandemic left and tourism came back, Phuket became okay. And so we started to look at how do we help other areas of Thailand. Since then, we did nationwide programs. One of the ones that we did this year was our spinal board project. That was a huge project that we did with the Minister of health, the health ministry. We did it with a couple of other foundations as well here in Thailand.
Just what do you mean by the spinal board project? What does that mean?
So what we did is we imported into Thailand 15,000 spinal boards, and we equipped emergency responders, first-line responders all over Thailand, all province of Thailand, with these spinal boards. And one of the reasons why you do that is something like Phuket, okay, this is going into history. When the tsunami hit Phuket, a lot of relief funds came in. And essentially because that was a worldwide event, but that worldwide event was not influencing everywhere worldwide. So what happened is all the foundations of the world gave money to Phuket. Whereas when the pandemic came, everyone had their problems, so no one was really thinking about helping someone else. They were thinking about helping themselves. So what happened out of that is there were foundations that were funded with ambulances and medical supplies and all this kind of stuff, all from tsunami relief funding. But what happened is that the other 72 provinces of Thailand didn't get the same kind of funding. So if you were in an accident, for example, in Trang or in Chiang Mai or in Mae Hong Son, there wasn't an ambulance to transport you. People would stop in their car, broken backs, broken bones, no matter what. You'd just be picked up, thrown in the back of the truck and taken to the hospital, right? And so we actually saw a lot of this and thought, well, let's try and give at least the basics, which is spinal boards. And we did a lot of research in it. We talked to American first aid responders. I talked to the head of the largest emergency room in the US and asked, what is the use of a spinal board? Is it useful? Because there's a lot of different research around this. And essentially, as an evacuation device, it's the number one resource that an emergency response vehicle needs. And when I mean evacuation device, if someone's in a crash, spinal boards are very useful to get them out of the accident. Normally, once they get then into the ambulance, they're taken off the spinal board. There's some research around this. I know so much about spinal boards. Just
good.
So that was one of our projects. We gave 15,000 of them to the provinces. We distributed it via the Ministry of Health, and then there's been handovers in every province of Thailand, and that goes across the entire 2023 project. That was $1 million US project that we did.
Cool.
That was one. On top of that, we did a wheelchair project.
I was there. I helped build one.
Yes.
I say helped build one.
I filmed the building of one.
I filmed the building of one and watched and made inappropriate comments about wheelchairs,
so
probably.
We distributed about 5,000 wheelchairs and mobility devices across all of Thailand as well.
But what was the purpose of the why wheelchairs?
So this is where it becomes like, as a foundation, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, and you start having to make like similar decisions as to what a first aid response person has to make. Like when they go to an accident, they see this person's got a broken leg, this person's got a cut on their head, this person's dying, these two we don't care about, let's focus on this one.
The triage, isn't it?
Yes, so we're triaging the situation. And what we found during COVID, as we were going into a lot of communities, we were finding that there was a lot of families that were staying home to support somebody who had no mobility. So maybe grandma was sick, or auntie was sick, or uncle was sick, and we'd have 2 or 3 people who were stuck at home taking care of them. And when I say stuck, I'm not meaning it as a derogatory term, but what we found out is that economically, this impacts the ability of that family to earn. So if we can make that person mobile, so they can wheel themselves around, they can walk, now the need to have 3 people stay at home to take care of them, maybe it's diminished to 2, maybe it's diminished to 1, maybe it's diminished completely. And now I've got 3 extra incomes for that household. So this was a financial decision that if we can make somebody mobile, we can create a family unit that is more economically sound.
Yep, makes sense.
So that's why we did it, and that's the business of kind of mobility. And if you look at the UN, if you look at some of the largest foundations in the world, they all focus on clean water, mobility, and infant care. And the reason behind mobility is if we can create an economically functioning family, that's way better than anything else we could possibly do. Let's get the children back to work or get them back to school. And that's what we were finding. Post-COVID, the parents were going back to work, but the kids weren't going back to school. They were staying home to take care of the person who was immobile. And maybe they're immobile through illness, through injury, through age. So we wanted to get that problem fixed. And that was one of the biggest projects that we were looking at doing afterwards. So we did that. on top of that, we did, so again, going back to UNHCR protocols, infants, in Thailand, they have one of the largest infant death ratios in the world.
Really?
So
wow.
In places specifically like northern Thailand, where a lot of births happen outside of the hospital system, but if they do happen inside the hospital system isn't equipped to care with post-birth complications.
Okay.
So then we decided to do a project to equip all of these hospitals with neonatal intensive care units.
Wow.
So there were things like incubators, and entire NCIUs we built.
What?
Entire neonatal intensive care units.
Thanks.
So we went to a lot of the smaller provinces that didn't have enough funding to be able to build these, and we went in, we built it, we flew in trainers to train on it, and this actually came because we did a big training in Bangkok. And at the end of the training, a lot of the smaller provinces come to us and said, this is the first time we've ever heard of neonatal intensive care units. We don't know what they are. We don't know how to do it, but we would love one in our hospital. How can you help us?
So it's great, given the equipment, but if they don't know how to use the equipment,
Correct.
There's no point in having it.
So we equipped it, and then we provided ongoing training and support. And that was, I think we did 15 of those. And they're very, an NICU in a hospital, you're looking at somewhere around 250 to 500,000 US dollars per in ICU, because you also got to support the equipment, because if they've never used it before, you got to train them. But if they've never used it before, they don't know how to fix it if it becomes unstable. So then you have to provide intensive ongoing support and training.
Yeah.
So that's another project we did. So a lot of people think that Living Waters we started giving life bags and then we turned to medical. And that's wasn't really the pivot. The pivot was, how do we fix some of the bigger problems in society? Which is, how do we fix this economic family unit that can't economically survive because people are having to stay at home? How do we reduce the infant death ratio in northern Thailand? Then on top of that, how do we get the kids back to school? Okay, so you survive COVID on a life bag. So we have a lot of families who every week would line up to get food from us because they had no other way to survive. So then we get them back to work, but they don't have any money to get their kids back to school, right? And I admit that Thai schools, it's very cheap. As a foreigner, you'd be like, well, how can they not find 100 baht or 200 baht to get their kids back to school? They can't. They're in debt. To survive COVID, they've sold everything, they've leveraged everything, they're in debt, and in some cases in debt to people that they don't want to be in debt to, right? They're paying high interest rates, 30% a month. So they're working to pay their debt down, and they've decided, pay the debt or put your kids to school, or they pay the debt.
Yeah.
So then we put a big program to get kids back to school, but we didn't do that just in Phuket. We did that Phuket, northern Thailand, Trang. We did that everywhere, and we put something like 16,000 kids back into school. And that was done through scholarships, where we would go in and give the kids, instead of giving them money to the families, we'd give the kids the supplies they needed. So we'd get them their school clothes, we'd get them their books, we'd go to the school and make sure that the school was feeding them lunch and that they would have milk and this kind of stuff, right? And so that was another project that we did post-COVID, and that's been going on in the last 12 months. Now, we're phasing that project down because we think, especially in an area like Phuket and tourism provinces, that the families should be recovering. But there are some provinces, like up in northern Thailand, Mae Hong Son and all this kind of stuff, where this is an ongoing problem. So we have ongoing programs up there, like we have dormitories that we provide, we give schools, we have scholarships. Those are ongoing projects that Living Waters does. Other projects that we've done this year, one that you know of, which was probably one of the bigger projects we did this year, was during intensified fighting on our northern border, we had 12,000 refugees cross into northern Thailand, and we became aware of them because they were close to one of our...
Sorry, refugees from
Myanmar.
Yeah.
So Myanmar is in the crust of a civil war. These 12,000 people were decided that the government would like to bomb their village. So they ran across the border, and they went through jungle for days, and they came up pretty much right next to one of our dormitories. So this is a dormitory that's 7 hours by car up a mountain in the jungle, right? So this is where we're trying to get kids educated. And we found out about it, and we figured that we should respond. Now, in Thailand, this is something that's very political.
It must be difficult for a foreigner to go in and do that?
Very, very difficult. And as a foreigner, essentially, we didn't. What we did is we as a foundation have partnered with the Thai Red Cross since our inception. We have a very good relationship with them. With nearly every project we do, we partner with the Thai Red Cross to help give us access to supply and government resource. So if I want to ship 2,500 wheelchairs, you can imagine that needs quite a number of trucks, especially if I'm going to 70 provinces. So what we do is we go to our partners in the Thai Red Cross and say, we'll import all the supply, we'll pay for it all. Can you organise each of the Red Crosses in the provinces to come to the port, bring a truck, we'll load the truck up and the truck goes back out.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how easy is that?
That's a 50.
Okay.
That is the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life. Trying to get things imported, cleared through customs, making sure as a foundation we're not paying tax on these things because we're donating them. All very difficult stuff, very high level negotiations. And so when you talk about a refugee project, this is a political minefield, right? Because any country doesn't want to advertise that they're accepting refugees.
No, some countries want to build a wall.
Exactly right. So a lot of them have policies, like I know the policy in Australia is turn back the boats. If a refugee boat's coming across the sea, they send the naval ship out and they send the boat back. They don't care if the boat is seaworthy, they don't care if it's going to sink. And on top of that, one of the other things they do is if the boat does sink, they don't put them on the Navy boat and bring them to Australia, they put them on a Navy boat and move them to another island that's not Australia and drop them there. Yeah, this is...
Let's not get into that.
This is the Australian refugee policy. So when people say to us, why is it politically sensitive? It's politically sensitive all over the world. So we've had 12,000 people that had a choice, die or maybe die. So they crossed the border. Of which then the government, and this is a thank you to the government, they declared a temporary safe zone, which meant that legally these refugees could stay in Thailand for up to 90 days, meaning that the army wouldn't push them back across to certain death, they'd let them stay. But access to these people is restricted, like the army restrict who can get to them. So we have to go then to our partners at the Thai Red Cross who can get access. So we negotiate to get access to the refugees using the Thai Red Cross, and we deliver up supplies. And what do supplies look like? Generally, first step, food, right? Second step, medical supplies. Third step, housing. Fourth step, clean water. Fifth step, sanitation, right? So we do that for 12,000 people. And you're doing that in the remote jungle, which is a good 8-hour drive from civilization through raging rivers, no paths. We're using motorbikes to scout paths, and then the motorbike comes back and says, okay, it's safe for the convoy to go this way. And then up we go. Right?
How do the, this is a strange question, but how do the refugees accept your offerings? Because are they nervous and scared?
They are. They're nervous and scared because one, they're going to get killed here, and two, they don't know if they're going to get killed here or not, right? They don't know if the government is going to let them stay or not, because the government can, in its own right, choose to force them back across the border, right? Like, that's any country's right to force them back across the border, right? So they're kind of in no man's land with no one really caring for them.
And I guess sometimes when they force them across the border, it's not, oh, politely, come on now, you've got to go back now. It's more of a, there's a stick.
Correct.
Let's go.
Correct. But again, hats off to the Thai government. In this particular case, they declared a temporary safe zone, which meant that not only could they stay, but the army would protect them, right? So that the militia forces of Myanmar couldn't cross the border and take action in Thailand, right? So we're protecting our border, we're keeping them safe. But Thailand's not a rich country, right? Like, we don't have the resources of, say, a Western world. You see, you know, Western world's doing billion-dollar aid grants. It's not something Thailand financially can do. So we have 12,000 people, and the government can't really feed them. So that's where foundations like us get involved, but we need to get access to them, right? So we need to be able to, because we have to be seen that we're not taking something up to them which gives them a permanent residency, right? We can't build houses, you know, everything has to be temporary. Like if we want to build a water supply, we have to build a temporary water supply that isn't, that once they leave, then we have to deconstruct it. So the government has to trust us to do that. And that's only built through the past of Living Waters. Like Living Waters spending years feeding people, spending years building projects, spending years building a relationship with the government. And that's what we did. That was one of our big projects this year. We had a lot of partner foundations in that, a lot of effort. It was 3 months and 16 days. We moved something like 62 tons worth of food up the mountain at 1 ton at a time, because the trucks that we could get aren't big enough due to the way that the roads
So you're
are.
just using pickup trucks, not
Exactly
proper
right.
big, trucks that you have in Australia, like the big train trucks.
Correct. And in this process, we lost 2 trucks. One got washed away in a flood. One on the way down the mountain lost brakes and went into a tree.
Oh.
So this is not easy work. This is very difficult work.
And is that ongoing, or what's the situation with that at the moment?
Now the temporary safe zones ended. It was declared ended because the military had moved on in Myanmar to a different area, so they could go back across the border. Okay. But what happens is this will happen again.
Yeah.
But what we as Living Waters believe is that we've built some trust now with the government that if this happens again, they know they can declare a temporary safe zone but not have to worry about the refugees, right? Because if you declare a temporary safe zone and then all the refugees die of starvation, that's worse than pushing them back across the border, right? Politically, it's worse. So they need to know if they're going to do this and protect the border, they need to be fed. So that's what we were building in relationship with the government to say, call us, we'll come, we'll help. And not just our foundation, right? Like we have foundational friends, other foundations we work with where we can all partner together. In a relief effort like this, you're talking about the Thai Red Cross, you're talking about the Army, you're talking about the Border Police, you're talking about iCare Thailand, you're talking about the LDS charities, the Two Sister charities, you're talking about the UN charity arm, like all of us combining together.
How easy is it to get everyone to be on the same page? Because you're mentioning a lot of people there, and I've lived in Thailand for a long time, but no matter what country, a lot of different government departments and different charities might not get on and might not see the same thing. So how hard is it to get everyone doing that?
Again, very, very difficult because you're also working in a very sensitive political environment as well. So you can do it, but you can't really tell, like I'm telling now, because we've done it, it's done.
Oh, okay.
But while we're doing it, we can't tell anybody we're doing it. And a lot of foundations that rely on donations for these kind of incidences need to bring the footage of what they're doing out of the place that they're doing it to then use that to raise funds to then go back in and feed again, right?
Yeah.
So we have an embargo. No footage, no photos, no videos, nothing, right? You can't even take your phone up there, right? Leave it with the Border Police, right?
Wow.
So this is the situation where we're having to do the project, but we can't get external support. And if we do want to go, say, to a philanthropist or a foundation, we have to let them say, trust us, this is a bad situation, trust us that we need to help you, we can't show you any footage. All right? And that's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult to do. And so I would suggest to you that, this project was something that was fast. It was, I think, within us knowing that they were there and first vehicle getting there with food was 3 days.
Wow.
But to get that, it's 3 days of very intense negotiations. Even to the last point, like we were going to use a helicopter to fly the first lot of supplies up because we needed it there as fast as possible. But we were waiting to get clearance to get the flight. Right, and we needed one of our foundation members to be on the flight to guarantee where the food went. Right, this is what we do as a foundation. We send one of our people to everything so that we know that it got where we needed it to go. Right, but we couldn't get clearance for our outsider to go on an army-sanctioned flight.
Right. Okay.
Right, so we're there at the airfield with the supply. The flight's cancelled. So then we're like, but these people up here need to get fed. So then we immediately call friends, non-army friends, non-border police friends to bring their trucks. And then we have to get border police people to drive their trucks because they've got to get through the borders, right? We've got stops, on the way up. We've got, one of the runs that we did up, we passed a Thai, what are they called? What are the special forces?
Yeah, special forces, good word.
We passed a Thai special forces camp, right? So we need the right people going up because when you get stopped, you got to have the right paperwork. Otherwise, you turn back down and impolitely turn back down. And so anyway, we got these trucks. and then we drive them up. We left at 10 o'clock. We arrived to camp at 3 a.m. And our plan once we got to camp was to give it out the next day. Like we would camp and then the next day we'd give it out. But the entire camp that we got to was awake when we got there. They came to us, to our team, and said, 3 days we haven't eaten, can we open now? We want to eat right now. When we're like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, they're like, we haven't eaten for 3 days. So unload the truck right there at 3 a.m. in the morning and feeding them. And that's the very first response day that we've done, right? That was when I flew to Chiang Mai and we were packing and everything was moving, right? That was fast response.
How many people work in the Living Waters team?
So none of us work. It's a volunteer foundation. Living Waters, no one gets paid. 100% of the funds that are given to Living Waters then uses in its response. We don't have admin fees, we don't have paid workers, everyone's volunteer. In terms of how many people volunteer, or during COVID, we have more than 1,000 volunteers. We still have those volunteers and we mobilize them as we need them. So when we were in Chiang Mai, we mobilized about 150 volunteers in Chiang Mai. But we have a core team of what we call, full-time volunteers who work behind the scenes and devise the operations and then do the response. But also a lot of that is when we need it, because I've got my company, I can pull resources from my company. So I can pull my admin team and say, go and order all this food and make it be here at this time. One of the craziest orders I've ever given in my life was to my executive manager of 5-star. I said, I need this much food at this day, at this time, but I don't know where to deliver it. Go order it. And then the supplier said, we can't do it without a delivery address. And I said, okay, deliver it to yourself. Because we don't know exactly where we're going to respond yet. We just know we need the food ready to respond, right? And if you think about the normal supply chain of getting food out, okay, you go to a supermarket, maybe you do an order online, they're going to deliver it to your house. Okay, I can order online, but I don't know where it's going to go. So they won't accept the order. So we just say, oh, deliver it to yourself. And they're like, well, how does that work? We're like, don't worry, we'll talk about it later. Just take the order.
But it's good because you've used your boats from 5-star to
Correct.
deliver to the islands during COVID times as well?
Yeah, so during COVID, we had access. So Phuket was locked down, so meaning you couldn't leave the island, but we got permission to take our boats out and deliver food to the island. More than that, one of the memories that stick to mind is my beloved Koh Lipe had a massive outbreak of COVID. Everybody was banned from leaving or going to the island. I got permission through the governor of that area to send a boat out with medical workers on it, with food, with medical supplies. We went on, we helped to COVID test, give COVID meds, give food, and then get back out. And that was permission that we've been granted because of our relationship with people like the Thai Red Cross and also the provincial governments.
So what's the future for Living Waters?
Firstly, can I point out that we're wearing different clothes?
No, we're not.
And our table has been fixed and the weather's very different.
I made sure the consistency, continuity was there, Shaun.
Oh, good. Okay, anyway, in all seriousness, for Living Waters, I think what we're looking at in the future is we are really good at operating ourselves emergency food relief projects. We did that during COVID. We did that with the refugees. We've done that with the floods. So if there becomes need for emergency food relief, then certainly we will activate as a foundation and do that. And then I think in addition to that, we'll continue to support other foundations that are doing work in the community, either they're the Thai Red Cross or iCare or the Good Shepherd or Phuket has been good to us or Seeds of Change. We'll continue issuing grants to those kinds of foundations so they can continue to do the work that they're very good at. And that's one of the things that I think Living Waters and my operations management team, we believe is that you should put the right person in the right job. And we believe that at Living Waters, we're very, very good at emergency food relief. But when it comes to education, things like eye care and Phuket Has Been Good to Us are significantly better foundations at doing that. So let them come to us and ask them for funding needs, provide applications to us, and then we can fund those. And if the people are watching this now and they're a foundation, they're registered in Thailand, you're welcome to send us an email about how you can ask for funds from us as well, because we do have a grant application process. It's a very easy process, and our operations team walk you through that.
Cool. Excellent. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the lovely people that are watching this video?
No, I think that's it.
Excellent. So if people
You
that
have
are
new glasses.
No, these are the same glasses. I made sure they're the same glasses.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't notice them last time.
Well, my white glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, I like the white one. It shows off my tan better. It really does. Anyway,
But your beard doesn't look the same as last.
why are you doing this?
Could we do it side by side?
2 days ago to today. We should explain. Okay, so we went on a little bit last time and then we didn't get to the very end, so we've recorded this on a separate day. But it's still important. But I have got another question for you.
Can we disclaim the full truth then, Jay?
No, we can't discuss. I can talk about it. If you want me to tell the full truth. Sean went on too long and my camera just went, do you know what, I've had enough. And just cut itself off. If non-foundation people want to get involved, so the likes of me or anyone else that isn't a foundation, or just the random person on the street, how would they get involved in Living Waters?
Look, I think it's a very good question. I get asked a lot, can you donate to Living Waters? Technically you can, but we don't go out and ask for donations. We're a private foundation and we want to stay that way, which means that 5 Star Marine, our company, donates a portion of its profits across to Living Waters Phuket, and maybe myself and Lisa personally donate as well. And that allows us some freedom as a foundation to do the projects that we personally and our company believe in, right? So we often say to people who come to us and say, look, we'd like to donate. Our first question actually is, look, what is the cause that you would like to support? You know, what is it that you're trying to achieve with your donation? And then we might say, look, there's other foundations that fit more aligned with what you're trying to do. And I can give some examples. Recently,
Please do.
I had someone reach out and say, look, we would like to donate to, and the purpose of our cause is we want to help with clean water supplies. And so we know a very good foundation in Thailand that does clean water supply based projects. And we told them, don't donate to us, donate to this foundation. Then we had another regular donor from Australia that wants to help with education. And so what we say to them is, don't donate to us, donate to eye care or Phuket Has Been Good to Us. So I think one of the things that Living Waters Phuket can do is enable you to find the right foundation that fits with what your giving needs are. And I think every single person has a different idea about what they want to donate to. You know, Jay, you and I have friends on Phuket who love sustainable projects. So they give a lot of money to Sustainable My Cow. We have friends who love to clean the oceans and clean the beaches. And so they give to things like Oceans for All or the Phuket Beach Cleanup Crew or Ocean Heroes. And I think that that's the number one thing that I would like to say that Living Waters Phuket can help you with, is to connect you to the right foundation for what you're trying to achieve through your giving. And I think that when you do give, you should give with a purpose, you know, because then you're more likely to give again, because once you see that the purpose that you're giving to has been achieved, then you'll go, oh, well, so how do I help next step, right? Rather than just blanket giving for no purpose at all. And that's what we can do, because we work with a lot of foundations who have been through our vetting and been through our process of they're a trusted foundation. And, you know, for us, we actually have a higher level of compliance because we're also what's called equivalency determined, which means that...
Big words, isn't it?
It means we have a very high level of audit. So when we do work with foundations, they have to meet a high bar of audit. So if you're looking to give and give in a safe way, then we can certainly connect you to those kinds of foundations. So instead of donating to us, just maybe email us and say, hey, these are the kind of things that we would like to support. Do you know a foundation that does this? And then we can either say yes, no, or maybe.
You're like the Tinder of charities.
Yeah, and again, it's just one of these things, like I often ask, why don't we take the funds direct? It's like, if Jay gives to me and says, I want to give for sustainable giving, I'm like, well, I'm not the perfect foundation for that, and probably I'm just going to on-donate that to another foundation anyway, so why don't I just directly connect you?
Cool. I think that's good. Anything else you'd like to say?
Not at all. I think we should stop before it rains.
I think so. Or we'll just re-record on another day. Either way, it all works. I can't believe you just let the Tinder thing go right over your head then. I thought it was a great joke.
Yeah, your jokes generally just go over my head.
Yeah. Anyway, look, thank you for all the hard work that you and your team do. It's really good, and I know how much work you do behind the scenes, and people don't see that. And I know you hate it when I put you on the pedestal and say well done, and you're not the one that wants to be up there, but well done, mate.
I appreciate it, Joe.
Good, right. Wave goodbye then.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching.